3 seconds to go. Across the timeline. 2 seconds to go. Jenkins, three, right wing to win it. He made it! He made the three from the right wing at the buzzer. Cats win it all! Cats win it all! Cats win it all! 31 years later, Villanova is the king of college basketball once again.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Big East Rewind. I'm Chuck Everson, your host from Villanova University, and my partner, as always, the good doctor, Mr. Sunshine himself, Sonny Sparrow. How are you, Sonny?
I'm great, Chuck. I'm great. Yourself?
I'm good. We're enjoying the summer, getting out as much as I can. You know, I'm dealing with a few health issues, but getting out as much as I can. In fact, I'm rocking the new Yankees Villanova cap that we got at Alumni Day at Yankee Stadium. So
folks that are not watching this, you know Chuck's museum that he has, right? One more piece is now on his head, so he's got.
Well, listen, this is something you wear when you go to games. Got my two favorite teams on there, Villanova and the New York Yankees. What's better than that, Sonny?
Well, probably Syracuse and the Mets, maybe. I don't know.
Oh God, all that orange. It's too much orange. A little gaudy.
Hey, we used to have the exact same orange and blue. Knicks, Mets, Syracuse. Then we changed our orange.
I know.
Killing me.
Well, today we have a guest who I know for a long time, and anybody that's watched or listened to Villanova basketball and or football is going to know this guy 100%, Sonny. Another member of the media and another guy who is very, very enthusiastic about what he does and his school, and he's always fun to talk to. So without any further ado, let's bring him on right now. How about that?
Let's do it, baby.
This guy is the voice of both Villanova basketball and football. 33 years going on for football and 28 years for basketball, and he does not look even close to that age, Sonny.
I know.
The great Ryan Fannon joins us. How are you, Ryan?
Great to be with you guys. Thanks so much for having me on. Excited to chat it up tonight with you.
You know, it's funny. You go right into that radio voice, bro. I mean, I know that voice like I know any sports guy I've ever listened to. And like when we just were talking to you off air, you were kind of a little subdued. As soon as you get in front of that microphone, pow, the voice comes out, right?
He projects, baby.
Oh, yeah, he does. So how are you, buddy? What's going on?
Oh, man, it's been a good summer. Great running into you at Summer Jam and seeing all the guys with the unbelievable alumni network that Villanova has. And a lot of that goes to you and the way you keep everybody together.
Well,
Ryan, hold on a second. Now, if Chuck talked to you and you were like, yeah, it's nice to be here, and thanks for asking me. Like, would he be happy with that? Right? No, you got to have the energy, man. You bring the energy. It's great.
He does every time he gets behind a microphone.
That's great, man. That's what makes you special.
Listen, I got news for you, Sonny. Sometimes
you got news for me. You got news.
Yeah, I don't get to go to every game, contrary to popular belief. Okay, people think I'm at every game. I'm not. I try to be, but it's not from lack of trying. That's for sure. That said, I listen to the games on Sirius XM radio on the home team's site so that I can hear Ryan and Whitey call the game. Every game that I'm not available at the game, I listen. I have that. I will turn the sound down on the TV and turn the radio up. For those of you of a certain age, a radio is a box that a lot of music and stuff used to come out of, and now it's your phone, right? So, so we do that all the time because Ryan's great. And Ryan, how did you get involved? When somebody told me, because I did my due diligence, Ryan. We talk about that all the time. Sonny and I. We are what, Sonny?
Professional journalists.
That's correct.
Not to be confused with slubs and
right. Don't confuse us.
Can't say certain things.
So I did my due diligence. Somebody told me that there was a game, I don't know, in '85 sometime that gave you the bug to want to be a sportscaster. Is that true?
Yeah, my dad was good friends with a guy that was on the board of trustees at Villanova, and he asked my dad to come down to Lexington in '85. And they got there and they went to the Memphis State game on Saturday. And then on Monday, as you guys were getting on the bus, Raleigh said to Lou Donatelli, they were having a conversation, and he goes, Lou, how you getting to the game? And Lou goes, oh, I'm here with my buddy Frank. and we don't even know yet. He says, "Get on the bus." And Lou Donatelli and my dad walked on the bus that you were on, and there
Yeah.
was one seat left, and my dad sat next to Harold Jensen the night he hit the biggest shot in Villanova history until Jenkins upped him a little bit in
Yeah,
16.
yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I would say so. Well, that maybe your dad was good luck that day, man.
It
That's all I
was,
can tell.
and he grew up playing football at UVA in the 50s. So
Okay.
we used to go to Charlottesville. Growing up in Northern Virginia, we drive 2 hours, 10 minutes, 15 minutes down to Charlottesville. And I grew up in the Ralph Sampson era. And I went to all the games in the early 80s. And
So you know Ricky Carlisle then.
oh, I mean, part of the Final Four team, ironically, in 84, the year after Ralph left. And my first Final Four was in 81 at the Spectrum when my dad had 2 tickets. My brother and I, my dad went to the Spectrum. He couldn't get in. He sent
Wow.
my brother and I in. We're in watching Al Wood torture the Cavaliers.
Right.
And my dad finally, an hour later, gets in. He's like, "Guys, you don't even know how I got in here." And it was just all that time growing up. I fell in love with college basketball through our trips to Charlottesville for football, basketball. And then when my dad went to the championship in 85, I'd always loved UVA so much, but I really got into Villanova after my dad had that experience of being on the team bus and going down there and seeing
Yeah.
Villanova take out the Hoyas in the famous 66-64 final that will live in infamy.
Yeah, well, you know, Coach Mass was always accommodating. You know, he wanted everybody to be a part of it. You know, so he would invite. We didn't know half the people on the bus, to be honest with you, Ryan. You know, you never knew who was going to be on there. It could be
Yeah, what
Tommy
was Frank
Lasorda, or
Fannon doing on the bus?
it could be anybody. It's unbelievable what he did. But so you got the bug back at that early age. Did your high school have a radio station or anything like that?
They didn't. I used to just do a lot of Orioles games. I do like some mock broadcasts. When we would drive out of Charlottesville after the post game and listen to the post game show coming up 29 out of Charlottesville, I was always like, "Dad, we got to listen. We got to listen." And I remember saying, "This is the greatest job in the world." They get to call the game, break down the game post game, and I was just mesmerized by the whole process
Yeah.
since I was like 8 or 10 years old. I didn't get to do a lot in high school, but when I got to Villanova, I knew they had a student radio. I knew I was going to try to get as much experience as I could at Villanova, and that's really where I got my start doing student radio for WXVU 89.1 for Villanova Student Station.
You know,
Now,
it
did
was,
you
go
did you
ahead,
have
son,
a
I'm sorry.
major like Syracuse is known for their broadcast
Oh
journalism?
yeah. I mean,
So
I was a communications major.
communications
So,
major.
yep.
There you
So
go.
I was liberal
Makes
arts communications. And I mean, I wasn't a great student. I was a decent student, but I was so focused on by my junior year when I became sports director, we were out selling advertisement down the street on the main line so we could do road games my junior and senior year. And
Oh,
we
wow.
raised money. And the student station was like, "What do you mean you're going to do road games?" They're like, "We don't do road games." I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 no. We're going to raise the money." And they're like, "You're going to raise the money? How?" And so we went door to door all the way down the main line, and we raised all this money, and we flew to California when Calvin Bird had his game his senior year and
Right.
played St. Mary's out there. We flew 2,500 miles. We would go to all the Big East road games. It was unbelievable. And my junior and senior year, at the end of that, I was like, "This is the greatest thing in the world." And then never in a million years did I think I would get a break that I got after I graduated to actually
No, come on,
stay
man.
at Villanova.
Come on, man. You are an entrepreneur at heart.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
that's pretty
You,
good.
you didn't just announce games, man. You created a
Yeah.
actual radio station that's legit now.
You know what, Rye? I got to be honest with you too. I mean, I did radio in high school. We had a really good radio station, and it went. I think the radius from the school was probably about 35 or 40 miles if it was a clear day. Okay,
Yep.
so now I come back. I come, you know, and I did a sports talk show. I did a comedy show. I did a rock and roll show. So I was very familiar with being on a microphone. You know. Then I went to the Villanova radio station because my good pal, shout out to Albie Oxenrider, who's
Oh, big
Ox on
Al.
Fox, my guy. You know,
Best.
I hope he's feeling better. he got me involved with the radio station, and I was broadcasting basically in the cafeteria at that time. So I realized that the only one I'm playing music for is myself. So no one really knew that I was on there, and I was on the team at the time, and nobody, nobody paid attention. So I got out of that quickly. But you took that from back when, gosh, that was probably 82. So 10 years later, you've taken that to another level in that short period of time, and now you're
And,
traveling and doing games. That's cool.
and the crazy part was when I got there, they shut down the station to go from the AM station to the FM station. It was supposed to be 1 year. So
Right.
I didn't get to call any games my freshman year. There was a sports director named Kevin Cassidy, and he said, Ryan, I know this is tough for you. You really want to do this, but look, just stay involved, stay by my side. When I graduate, I'm going to put you in that sports director role. So stay close. And then my sophomore year, they go, oh, the station's still not going to be ready. They're having issues getting it up to speed. So I sat for 2 years. But when he left and graduated, I was like, this is my chance. And we had a signal that you could hear beyond Doherty Hall.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. Well, that's
But
great.
you know what? They wouldn't have to pay you. He was smart. I don't got to pay this guy. He's going to go raise his own salary.
Yeah, he was all
Right?
jacked up too. I mean, it was, hey, listen, that's what you got to do, Sonny.
I love it, man. I love it. There's a story of a friend of mine who's a dentist, and he set up his office. He knocked on every door in neighborhoods, and he had his an appointment book in his backpack, and he just introduced himself. And I asked him how many said no. He said about 8 out of 10 said they wouldn't even answer the door or talk to him.
Right.
That's how
No
I
means
mean,
next.
you do what
No
you got to
means
do,
next.
man.
I love
No
that.
means not yet. That's what I heard.
No means next. That's awesome. So when
That's
you were
cool.
there, you graduated in 93, right, from Nova?
Yep.
So you were there for the last couple of years of Coach Mass and the first couple of years of Lap, right?
Yeah, I had 3 years under Coach Mass, and then my junior year was, the press conference announcing he was going to Vegas, and then Coach Lapis came in, and my senior year, 92, 93, Lap's first year, was a chance to go from having Coach Mass, the legend, and then a new coach coming in trying to make his way, which was the first of his 9-year run there.
So you were there for like the Tom Grice years,
My freshman year, my buddies and I jumped in the car and we drove from Villanova to Knoxville, Tennessee for the Shaquille O'Neal, Stanley Roberts, Chris Jackson game when we lost Coach Mass's only first round loss in his career ever in the NCAA tournament. Where we lost to LSU down there with Shaq 70-63. I remember Chris Walker was bombing some deep threes late to try to get us back in, but we lost and then came all the way back. And that was, I was like, we can't broadcast the game, but we can drive to Knoxville, Tennessee from PA. And we drove down for the game.
So as you're down there at Villanova as a student, were any of the guys from the team, were they in your friend group at all? Any of those guys?
Yeah, I was at Stanford Hall, so I got to know Chris Walker, Dowdell, and then the guy that I'm still closest with now is James Bryson. I mean, we connect every now and then because he's in the DC area and I'm in Northern Virginia.
Right.
And we'll catch up and go to a Wizards game or catch up and go to a game every now and then. But Lance Miller, Calvin Bird, and Aaron Bain. I mean, Aaron lived across campus, but in Stanford, I saw those guys every day. And it was awesome. I remember just feeling that, that family unit right from the get-go, with Coach Mass still there. And it was just unbelievable. And then, speaking of Sonny in his orange, my sophomore year, taking the trip up to the Carrier Dome for Lance Miller's little floater to beat Princeton 50-48. And then I almost had a heart attack when I had to watch the Princeton three-pointer from half court, make sure that didn't go in. And then we got the Tar Heels 2 days later in that second round back in 1991 at the Carrier Dome. And that was just unbelievable. I mean, Villanova, I believe, is still the only team for an actual class of 4 years to ever go into the Dome and win 4 consecutive years. That group of Miller and Bird and Bain, they actually won in the Dome in 90, 91, 92, and 93, 4 straight years.
Listen,
Well, I
Ryan,
knew
you
it
got any
wasn't
more
my
stat?
fourth
You got
grade
wait,
years.
wait.
That's for sure.
You got any more
I
shit
had
you
that
want to
singer
talk about?
waiting all day for you, Sonny.
Not.
I know that was loaded up, man. You just like you didn't even cock the barrel. Just like there you go. There you
Sonny,
go.
what did I tell you? He was going to
Take
be
that, man.
bad for you, Sonny.
Oh
I
man,
told you right from the
I
jump.
should have done more homework myself.
Listen, yeah, I know. You got to get with it,
Wow.
son. You know.
Wow.
So okay, so now you're at Nova. You're going through. You've now seen live. You've seen Steve Lappis's entire Villanova career. You've seen Jay Wright's entire Villanova career. Kyle Neptune, albeit very short, his entire Nova career, and now you start with Kevin Willett, and you saw the end of Coach Mass's Villanova career.
Yep, 3 of his 19 years.
That's, I tell you what, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good run you had, just from a Villanova basketball perspective. I mean, we've only had like 7 coaches, and the other 2 coaches are Jack Kraft and Alex Severance in the last 80 years or something, right?
And I was thinking about this today when I was getting ready for to join you guys on the show, and I was thinking when I got the play-by-play job on the professional network in 1998, the 98-99 season. Now I had 3 years of doing play-by-play for Lapis, 21J, and then 3 for Kyle. So that's sort of been my actual calling play-by-play every game, 3, 21, and 3.
Wow.
And I still just, I mean, you were obviously there for arguably the greatest moment in Villanova history, obviously winning the championship in 85. But in terms of ever thinking that, like, I remember when I got the play-by-play job, I thought to myself, if I could call one Final Four in my life, that would be a dream come true. And
Yeah.
then when Jay retired, I was calling my 4th Final Four. And I still, like, it's completely surreal to me. I still look at myself all the time as just a student radio guy that got one lucky break moving into the football network in 93. And if I didn't get that break, I would have never gotten the pregame, postgame break. And then I would have never gotten eventually the play-by-play break in 98.
So you started with football, and then you went from you did play-by-play for football first?
I actually did the color. I was the color analyst
Really?
for the first 22 years, working with Joe Eichhorn, who did a terrific job play-by-play. And then I've done the play-by-play football the last 10 years. So I've done 32 seasons, but 22 of them were actually as the color analyst, where hoops has been all play-by-play once I got that in 98.
And you had some characters there too. I mean, Coach Talley is a great guy. You had to work with him, and now Coach
Unbelievable.
Ferrante, and you got to see what was it? Is it 2009 was the national championship?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Beat William and Mary by 1 in the national semifinal. It was about 8 degrees on a Friday night. I'll never forget. We were on ESPN2 and got that W, and then went down to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and beat Montana, who was undefeated coming in to win. Talley. Everybody wanted that national championship for Coach Talley so bad.
Oh
And
yeah. I mean,
squeezed
he's
that
such a
game
good
out.
dude, man. He was really, such a good guy.
23-21. We won the last 2 games by a combined 3 points. The
Right.
semifinal by 1 and the national championship game by 2.
Wow. Wow. So okay, so now you did some football. How did you get involved? Talk about how you got involved with basketball and what exactly happened that you now are have the main microphone in your hand.
So with doing the football, when I got the football job, I remember saying, well, this is great. I got a job for 11 out of 365 days a year. So what am I going to do? So Villanova legend himself, Bob Capone.
Yep, I was going to ask you about him.
Former coach and
That was
alumni
Howie Long's
director,
guy.
did everything. I mean, he was the
Yeah.
best. He was one of the ones that I met with when I was actually looking at Villanova out of high school, and he was just a mentor, an amazing guy to me. And it was just it was crazy because when I got up there and I got the job, I remember, like, what am I gonna do? I went into Mr. Capone's office. I said, Mr. Capone, can you put me to work? And he's like, yeah, go out, sell some sponsorships. And that, I was like, oh yeah, I've done that. So I went out, I started selling stuff for the Wildcat Club. And then Gene DiFilippo had become the AD. and his top guy was Tim Hoferth, who would eventually become the AD after him. And they
Right.
gave me an internship selling corporate sponsorship, and they brought the whole radio network in-house. So now I'm working on the radio logs, I'm selling the sponsorship, I'm doing the football games, and they go, why don't we, and I said, what can I do basketball? And they go, is there any opportunities there? So then Whitey and Andy Musser that were doing the games at the time, they had me come along. I used to print media notes for them and do the pregame show. And they sent me on the road with them. It was like the greatest thing ever. I was 20 at that time. That was the 94-95 season when we won the Big East Championship. And that's when I really started traveling and working with the crew for 4 years until I got the actual play-by-play job.
Wow.
Now, where do you stand nationally in terms of years broadcasting sports?
So last year, because Whitey's going on year 45 and we've been together, we're now, as of last year, somebody did an article on this, and we, I think, are number 5 or number 6 in the country for a team broadcasting Division I college basketball.
See, Chuck, I did my homework. See that question right there? That was a good one.
It was a great question, but you didn't know the answer until he gave it.
No, of course I didn't know the answer. I was asking.
Right. That's why you asked the question, Sonny. That's what we do.
That's why we ask the questions.
That's right. So, yeah, I mean, it's you've had some. I mean,
it's a hell of a run.
Ryan, you basically created your own job and built it yourself. But it's basically what happened by doing all the advertising.
Grab you to do more.
That's amazing, because that means, that shows you what kind of attitude you had and what kind of perseverance to go through that. That couldn't be easy, going out and being told no, like we just said. I mean, that's pretty incredible that you were able to do that at every level.
I just remember my mindset was like, what if they wanted me to sweep the floor, drive somebody somewhere? I didn't care. I used to drive Gene D. Filippo to the airport. Like, I would do anything to have an opportunity to be around Villanova. I mean, I was going out with my friends. I was very social. Like, I was like, this is great. But I remember it was that fine line when you graduate and you don't want to be the guy hanging around,
right?
So in a way, people say they're on a 5-year plan. I'm on a 30+ year plan, but my plan has been to call games and just enjoy all the great relationships over the years. But I remember, like, I purposely moved to like Manayunk, Conshohocken, because I wanted to sort of separate myself. Now I was a young guy out of college, and I just was working in athletics at my alma mater, and I was having the time of my life.
So I got to ask you, Villanova is playing an out-of-conference game against, I don't know, Georgia Southern or University of Georgia, right? Out-of-conference game. And you have the broadcast coming up for Friday. How much time do you put into preparation, and what does that look like?
So to tell you about where my mindset was preparation, I have to tell you a quick story. When I did my first play-by-play my junior year at Villanova football, I went to Lewisburg, PA, and called the Villanova Bucknell game. And I knew all the Villanova players, and I had the roster for Bucknell, and they put us in the middle of the press box because they didn't have a booth to put us in. And the game started, and 7 officials and 22 players out there, and I got about 4 plays in, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not ready for this. Like, I always was like, I don't know, looking back, it was like I thought, well, I know all the players and I know this, but I didn't. But to call play-by-play football is so hard. And I went back, and we were at a party that night, and my buddy said, Ryan, I thought you wanted to be a broadcaster. And I said, oh, I knew you were going to say that, Jimmy. He killed me. He crushed me. He said, Ryan, look, I know you know your stuff, but you were like all over the place. You didn't know the Bucknell numbers. And I remember that feeling. It was this pit in my stomach. I'll never forget it. I can visualize where I'm standing when he said that comment to me in the fall of 1991. And I remember saying to myself, I don't know how far or anywhere I'll ever go in this industry, but I'm never going to not be prepared. So I can say honestly that I've never, ever not grinded getting ready for every single game. So what I do is I have a manila chart and I write out all the phonetics and all the stats. I watch 1 or 2 games. My kids love quizzing me names and numbers to memorize, and football is hard because I try to memorize a lot of numbers. And for football, it's a lot of time for football. Basketball, it's a lot of time also. But I would say like probably 6 to 8 hours between watching film, doing my charts, and looking over game notes. And now that I've done it for so long, like I actually am relaxed when I get to basketball games now because I know I'm prepared and I know the names and I'm not going to, a lot of times I listen to broadcasters and you can tell when their minds are not caught up to the players and the names and they spend the whole game just battling that. I'm like, I learned that in 1991. I'm not going to do that. So that's what I always try to do is just be as prepared as I can and then get there and just have fun with it and let my energy and love for Villanova come out naturally, but always try to be prepared as maximum as I can.
Now, have you ever had a thought of getting into the television realm?
Yes, but I never wanted to leave Villanova to do it, so I never pursued it. It's
So do
really
they have
been a
guys
dream
that,
job for me.
so
And
do,
I tested it for validity because
yeah,
ever since 2000, 2001, I've lived in Virginia and I've been the radio guy for Villanova. And
Yeah,
people go, what?
yeah, that's amazing too. I tell Sonny that. That was
So,
that's
so the
incredible.
best way I can describe it, Sonny, is when people say you live in Virginia and you're the radio guy, you do every game. What are you doing? Like, how do you do that? And I go, when Villanova's home, I'm on the road. When Villanova's on the road, I'm on the road again. And when we play Georgetown, the team I want to beat the most, I got a 20-minute commute to call the game in Washington, D.C. It's a crazy life. I mean, I literally driving up in 95. And I'm a night owl. So when we fly back, I remember this crazy one. We played a night game in Creighton years ago. And by the time we landed in Philly on the charter, it was 4 a.m. And I always drive. It only takes me about 2 hours and 15 minutes to get from the tarmac in my car off the charter into my house in Alexandria because I'm driving so late at night. But I remember we got off at 4 and I remember I got to DC and I go, oh my goodness, I'm going to hit DC traffic. And it was 6:30 in the morning and I was hitting traffic in DC. And I'm like, that's when I was like, this is pretty crazy. But I've all hours, all times, crazy trips. But every time I'm driving down, I'm like, I get to do my dream job and it keeps me going. And I'm 54 years old now and I still love it as much as I did when I did student radio chasing the advertisers down Lancaster Avenue in 1991.
How does that affect your full-time job that you do?
So that's a great question because I've been full time at my other alma mater, Bishop
Right.
Ireton High School, as director of alumni, and then been doing advancement work there for years. And when I got the job, I had already had this job, so they were like, when you travel around the country with Villanova, you can connect with Ireton alumni. So my high school has alumni all over the country.
Wow.
So I go cup of coffee, dinner, catch up. And
Sure.
a lot of times it's a short window because we're in and out in 24 hours.
Yeah.
But when I can, I connect with Bishop Ireton alumni for my full-time job on the road. So the jobs have great synergy.
That's pretty cool. So let's talk about some of your experiences, okay? So first of all, you really are under 3 different coaches, not, have any of the coaches approached you about things that you've said on air that, wasn't to their liking, or the other way around, like it was a positive comment that they said, "Hey, that was really cool that you said that," or something like that? What were your interactions with the head coaches?
The one thing that I've always been amazed at Villanova is how they've always let us be part of the team travel, the pregame meals, the shoot-arounds, any practices. I mean, because I've had the longest stint with Jay Wright, I'll give you an example. In 21 years, I remember thinking to myself, I mean, I can't imagine a radio guy in the country that has a better situation in terms of feeling part of a team than Jay did for 21 years. It was unbelievable. I mean, it's hard to it's hard to even describe, but the thing I always think about Jay Wright is getting on those planes, those buses, 21 years. I never, ever, ever knew if we had won or lost because I've never met anybody in any job, any position in my life that has greater control over their emotion. Obviously, on the sidelines, he's fiery. The locker room's the locker room. Nobody knows this more than you guys. You played at the highest level.
Yep.
But that was always fascinating to me, how he was just able to, just the class act. Anybody would come up to the bus. He was just amazing with everybody, including our radio crew. It was just something that I'll be grateful for the rest of my life.
That's wild, man. I don't know what you mean. And you talk about cool. Chris makes the shot. He turns around and just, all right, we won. And he just walks off. You know, it was
Yep.
amazing, right? He's
Yeah.
like that. He's like that all the time for people that have never been around him. That's what he's like.
That was the greatest test at that moment. And
Yeah.
then later he goes, well, I thought maybe they were going to put some time back in. I didn't know for sure. And I was thinking about Roy because I've been there. You know, it's
Yeah,
like
right.
his brain's always thinking two
Works
steps
differently.
ahead.
So, all right. So now, so a couple of things I wanted to ask you. Your top 5 Villanova sports moments. Or top 10. Do top 10. Your top 10 Villanova sports moments that you were a part of, that you were there to see. So we're talking football and basketball.
Roll tape, baby.
Yeah.
So I would say number one is obviously getting a chance to call a national championship buzzer beater. And
Which, by the way, was an awesome call. That was the Cats win it all call, right?
thank you. I appreciate it. It was
Yeah.
it was one of those where I had come up with that in Detroit 7 years earlier in 09.
Okay.
Mike Kern from the Daily News had said, if Villanova wins, I know you do your Cats win, Cats win, Cats win to end the broadcast when you sign off. Good night, everybody. But what are you going to do if they win the national championship?
Yeah.
And it came to me in Motown that I was going to say Cats win it all. And I was going to add the it all to my normal Cats win, which I said
Right.
to end the broadcast. So we obviously lost to the Tar Heels. I sat on that for 7 years. I was going to do it.
Biding your time.
Exactly. Just like all those stories I said about biding my time. You know, maybe one of these days I'll get this break or this break. And I just kept getting lucky. And so then we get to that. And it was one of those things where I knew what I was going to do, but I never imagined ever it could be a national championship buzzer beater. And Joe D'Ambrosio, the longtime voice of Connecticut, he gave me great advice. He said, Ryan, in those moments as a play-by-play guy, nobody cares how you feel, your emotion. They want to hear the call and they want to hear it cleanly.
Right.
And you can be as enthusiastic as you want, but you got to do your job first. And when they called the timeout and came out with 4.7, I remember saying to myself what Joe told me, do your job. Do your job, stay with the call, stay with the call. And I remember as I was just focused on doing my play-by-play. And then once I got out the call and it went through and I was convinced that he had got it off, it was out of his hands, I knew it. I just knew it. So I went with it. I was like, you know, Cats win it all, Cats win it all, Cats win it all. And then 31 years later, Villanova is the king of college basketball once again. Final score, Villanova. And this was the crazy moment. I looked up at the scoreboard and the scoreboard said 74-74. Now, I'm literally having an outer body experience calling this. And I have
and you got to do math too on top of it.
Exactly. And they didn't put it up. So after I go through all this, I get the Cats win it all 3 times. I throw in a little historical perspective, and then I go final score, Villanova. And I looked up and it said 74. And my mind had a quarter of a second to say, Villanova 77. And if you listen to my call, there's not a hesitation, but there's a slight different inflection on my
Yeah.
77 North Carolina 74. You gotta love it.
Right. So that's your number one. What were the other?
So
What
I'm
were
going to
the
go
other?
a lot faster because that one had to give you obviously the biggest
Oh, yeah.
bowl of pasta, as Coach
Listen, we
Nash
got
would
the
say
whole
right there.
show on that one, Ryan.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
I would say number 2, winning and calling national championships. So destroying Michigan in 18 is number 2.
I got a question for you about that
Yes.
game. So Dante's having the game of his life.
Yep.
He runs down the floor, and you guys think he's winking at Whitey Rigsby. Is that true?
That's what I hear. But somebody
Okay.
said it wasn't Whitey, but I'm
Oh,
going with
Josh
Whitey.
Hart was sitting behind Whitey. So
Exactly.
who was he winking at, Whitey or Josh? What do you think?
I think
I'd go
a
with
little
Josh,
bit of
actually.
both. I'm going to go with both as the answer.
Okay. So that's
So-
number 2.
So number 3, I would say this is a tough one. I, I'm going to probably go with Villanova, Scotty Reynolds shot,
Yep.
because it was the first time we went back in 24 years between 85 and 09.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with that, but it's
Plus,
hard.
that was a
because-
hell of a play. That was the first time they ran that OB play
Oh
that
yeah.
they won the championship with.
I mean, there's so many of these that you hear the stories after. It's crazy, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's crazy.
I mean, I want to even say, like, I'm going to go with that. And
Okay.
then I'm going to go with Villanova football winning a national championship, because to me, just so few people ever get to experience winning it all. So I'm going to put that number 4.
The story with that one was Serzer was the quarterback, right?
Chris Whitney was the quarterback, and Matt Caesar was unstoppable. Like, they just kept giving him the ball, and we just ran down Montana's
And
throat.
then he
the title
turned
game.
around and won and broke the curse in Chicago and won a World Series in Chicago.
The
for
guy,
baseball.
I mean, that guy was
Unbelievable.
the
Yeah.
best. So,
Yep.
so I would say I'll go with the win over Pitt, number 4.
Yep.
Now I'm going to go back to Final Fours, because winning Final Four games.
Okay.
And I'm going to say the next one now is the win over Kansas.
Yeah, that was good.
Because when we went up 22-4, that game was so far over 7 minutes into the game. We had the best team in the country by far, and we blitzed them 22-4.
Yeah.
And I was like, this game is over. It was unbelievable. So just taking Kansas.
Eric Pascal had a great game that day.
Oh,
So let me ask you, when you have a game like that that's out of hand early, right?
yep.
And there's like no coming back. Like in baseball, when they bring a position player to pitch, right? How do you keep this enthusiasm? How do you keep this level? How do you keep people entertained, or at least interested, we'll call it?
I think for me, I've always thought about just do your job as a play-by-play guy, right? Like, it goes back to even in that biggest moment, right? Like, people, you need ball location, time, score. Like, do the fundamentals. Like, I can be as enthusiastic as I want, but if I'm not somebody that somebody tunes in and 3 minutes in, they go, "What's the score, fan?" And nobody wants to. You need to give them the fundamentals. So I try to actually, because obviously I'm working with a former player that played for Coach Mass. Like, I always looked at how lucky am I? I get to sit next to a guy that played at Villanova, has been broadcasting for many, many more years than me. And Whitey has stories to tell every game. And Whitey's always great because he'll talk about in the game stuff in the crowd. Like, he brings so many different things in that I just try to do my play-by-play job and do it enthusiastically. And another thing I learned is when you lose, don't ever let them hear you're like upset, or you're like, how some broadcasters get that whiny. I'm like, no, I've done
Like
many
Rizzuto?
post games in the year, many times where I'm dying inside. And when I get to my car, I let it out, but not while I'm doing the job that I'm doing and trying to do it professionally.
Yeah, you can't do that. Okay. So that was your top group. That was pretty good. That's a pretty good group.
Yep. And then I would say, just to add a few last ones in.
Yeah, because I interrupted you. Keep going.
No,
You
no,
got
no.
no, you got no Brian Westbrook run backs or anything in that?
I mean, calling all his games unbelievable. I mean, it was. I mean, you want to talk when I talk about single players, right? There was nobody Villanova football that I ever got to experience anything like Westbrook. I mean, he's
Yeah.
in the College Football Hall of Fame. I mean, that was the greatest single football player that I've ever got to experience calling all of his games. But I would say there was one game, Villanova, Delaware, in 2002 when Brett Gordon was the quarterback. And the year before was Westbrook's last year, and we missed the playoffs because we lost 47-44 at William and Mary.
Ooh.
And the next year, Brett Gordon's senior year, we drove down the field and he caught Brian White on a short touchdown in Newark, and we beat the Hens. And that was one of those games, I'll never forget in terms of just our greatest rival in
Yeah,
football, to beat them with a playoff bid on the line. Couple other big ones.
You know that they, the saying, right? Fear the bird that does not fly.
That's it.
My son went to Delaware, the Blue Hens, baby.
That's right. They're moving up to FBS.
Are they really?
They couldn't beat Villanova, so they had to leave.
I thought you
Villanova
said you
has
weren't going to be a Phil Rizzuto a homer. You were going to do your job, right?
Yep, but hey, I'm a Villanova guy, though. You can still be
There you
enthusiastic.
go.
A couple last ones real quick, I would say. To be the only team in the history of the Big East tournament, because the Big East tournament and the week at the Garden's always been my favorite week of the year.
Amazing.
I've lived for it.
Yeah.
I've been to every single Big East tournament since 1990. I've been over 30 years straight, except 1 year, 2021, they wouldn't let us call it. Whitey and I had to call the Georgetown Villanova game in 2021 from a TV monitor at the studio in Philly, when that whole year we had to do the broadcast off a monitor.
Wow.
Including the NCAA tournament. So, but I would say the Oklahoma game, when we went on a 25-0 run, who goes on a 25-0 run in a Final Four game? I mean, the Oklahoma, the win over them,
And,
16
Well,
is definitely
they got us
top
that
10.
year on the
remember,
carrier, right?
they played earlier and they got blown out.
They smacked us good.
Yep, they beat us by 20 plus out in Honolulu, out in Pearl Harbor back in December.
Yep.
So, those were some of the greatest ones, but definitely Duke, beating Duke in the Sweet 16 in Boston 2 days before we beat Pitt. That whole weekend in Boston was spectacular weekend because everybody was dying. And then one more that you'll be surprised by this is because Villanova had not gotten to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament from 1988 to 2005, 17 years. Villanova did not go to the Sweet 16. When we beat Florida and Jason Frazier had a monster day, and unfortunately Curtis Sumter blew out his knee in that game, beating Florida and getting back to the Sweet 16, where ironically we go to Sonny's house and lose to the Tar Heels by 1 on the famous Allen Ray walk that was not a walk, as we all know, and we'll take to our grave.
Right. Unbelievable.
It's nice to see you got over it, though. That's nice.
Yes,
to see.
you can tell. Very, very well getting over it. No chance.
Good to see you got over it. That's right. Okay, so now I got one more, Nova question, then I want to go to current day stuff. Okay. So of the time that you called games, give me your top 10 Nova basketball players.
So
let's just do. How about
guys that you called their games? So you had
how
to be
just
you
a
had to
Mount
be
Rushmore.
courtside.
Let's get a Mount Rushmore. Let's get 4.
I would.
4.
My favorite Villanova player I've ever broadcast is Josh Hart.
Okay.
Brunson, in my opinion, is the greatest player in Villanova history, but I would put him number 2 just because Josh Hart, to me, epitomized everything that is a Villanova basketball player.
Still does. Still does.
He does. It's incredible. So I would say Josh Hart, and then I would say Brunson, and then I would say Arcidiacono would probably be my top 3. And then
Hold on, Chuck. Are you getting the theme here?
Yeah, he likes champions.
They're all guards, baby. They're all.
They're all champs too.
Just want to put it out there. You're not hearing,
Listen, he didn't get to the Lapis years yet. We had a lot of big guys there. Come on, man.
I would say Scotty Reynolds next.
Oh, the
Oh,
God. Oh.
scoop.
Sonny and I have this thing about bigs and
Keep
guards.
going, Ryan. Now you're getting back in my favor. Keep going, man.
So I would
Pile on.
say I'd go with probably Colin Gillespie next.
Okay, yeah, I'm feeling the
Now-
love. Keep it going.
Now, this is a player that is one of the greatest. He's the second leading scorer now in Villanova history. I loved, I did pregame, so I don't know if you can count it, but Kerry Kittles is obviously got to be in my top 10.
Sure.
But because he was not able to sort of take the team on his back and go on an NCAA run in any of his years, I would still, but just to watch him play was incredible. So he would be top 10 for me.
Yep.
And then, Daniel Ochefu is one of my top 10.
There it is. There
There's
it
your
Got
big
is.
one.
man. And the fact that he went into that locker room at NRG Stadium and literally asked the coaches, could you give us a few minutes? I want to talk to the team. And when he took over in that locker room, that epic story, just like, the Pasta Bowl story you always tell about the Elite Eight in Birmingham against Carolina in 85. I mean, these are just stories that just give you bonds with players where you're like, that's the guy. So what
Right.
Ochefu meant to that program, he's a top 10 for me. And then I would say probably John Haynes because of his leadership.
Wow. That's a good
Transfer from Temple, but his desire, watching him win that Big East championship in 1995, that was awesome. Obviously, 5 days later, they lost to Old Dominion in the most devastating loss. That and the NC State loss in 2015 are the two that, sit with me forever.
Yeah.
Like the Nova Nation, those two were hard, but those are the guys that come to mind the most when I think about, I can name a couple more in that 7, 8, or 9, but that's the core of that. And then I put Jenkins in there because he hit the biggest shot in the history of Villanova. And he also had a heck of a pretty good career too.
Yep. And he's a good guy.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. He filled in for you one game, I was told.
Yes. Yep. When Steve
Except
Pannone and I were
Whitey did play-by-play and Chris did color.
correct. When Steve Pannone and I were down in Texas calling the Villanova playoff game last year down in San Antonio.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's right. Okay. Yeah, Chris is an
Steve-
interesting
Steve is
guy.
still your partner?
What was that?
Steve's not your partner anymore, right? Did he move into a different role?
No, Steve, Kevin Riley and I have done the games who played in the NFL and played at Villanova in the early 70s. Kevin Riley and I have done the games for the last 10 years. He couldn't do that playoff game, so
Gotcha.
Steve filled in for him.
So yeah, they split the teams up and Chris wound up at Nova with Whitey. But the interesting thing with Chris is a lot more laid back than you are. There's no doubt about that. I mean, he shows up, he comes in. Brian Harrington and I are gonna support him. His first game he's ever doing is at St. John's against Quinnipiac. Tommy Pecora is coaching Quinnipiac, and the Hall of Famer Ricky P is coaching the Johnnies. So the night before the game, I said, "Hey, let me know when you're done with practice. I'll come up, I'll pick you up, and we'll go to Coach Carnesecca's favorite spot, and we'll have dinner. I'll buy dinner, we'll go out for dinner." So we do that. He calls me, he goes, "Hey, listen, can you do me a favor? I was so nervous about coming here. I forgot to bring a tie. I need a tie." So I came with an array of tie. Pick which one you want. And he wore my tie in his first game that he
Nice.
did. Yeah. So you've gotten to see the current team, I'm sure, right?
Yes.
What are your thoughts so far? I know it's early. What do you see from Coach Willard? And what do you see from the guys on that team? Because I've been to 2 practices, so I can give you a little bit of what I've seen.
I'll give you that, but I'm going to give you three more to end your last question. Kyle
Okay.
Lowry, Bridges, and Dante Cunningham. Three more names when
well-
you ask me for 10.
So we're 2-8 for big, Sonny. 2-8.
Yeah, I had to slip in Dante
I
and
think he just
Chefu.
did that on purpose. Let's be honest. He just wanted to make you feel good.
Well, Dante was a great player. Come on, Sonny. You got to give me that. Come on. So
DiVincenzo, man, he put it up.
Big year in 09. He had a heck of a year. He was awesome. Led us to that Final Four, and Dwayne Anderson was huge on that team too, along with Scotty.
Well, how many redheaded Italians you're going to meet, right?
not too many. I know
That's a northern Italian. But go ahead.
But
All right.
about this year, though, I think the thing that is most exciting is Jay was obviously at Hofstra for 7 years.
Yep.
We have never, ever, ever in the history of Villanova basketball, and it's still amazing that, we've had only 10 coaches, including Willard, in the history of Villanova basketball that's over 100 years old. But if you think about it, like, to be able to have a veteran coach, that to me is the most exciting thing. I love the line when people say this is a last minute league. You have to win in the last minute. That's a pretty general statement, but
Yeah.
I just feel like the last 3 years, like we were in so many games and we didn't win that last minute. And the fact that we have an 18-year Division I head coach from his 3 years at Iona, the 12 at Seton Hall, to the 3 at Maryland, like without a lot of resources, he would finish in 4th place a ton of years at Seton Hall. Like, I just feel like we're very fortunate. We're getting not only an outstanding veteran coach, but we're getting him in his prime. He just turned 50. We're very lucky. This hire, when there was all the names, I was like, please hire Kevin Willard, because I just felt like this was the perfect fit for us. He knows the league. He can adjust quickly. He's a grinder. He's going to work so hard. He's going to build relationships. He's a very social guy. He loves interaction. And I was like, but we need a veteran coach. And I love the roster right now because, we obviously got Devin Askew that's got the 1 year of eligibility left. And then you look and we got Duke Brennan, who's got a year left. And then you look at—
What do you think? What do you think of him? First of all, he seemed. You know what? I'm gonna tell you, because I went out the first time I went in. I called Kevin a couple of times and said, "Hey, I'd like to come watch practice," and our schedules didn't match up. So he said, "Come down this week." I go down. Jay Von Pinkston lets me in the gym. Okay, so I go in the training room and there's all the guys getting taped and getting ready, and every single kid came over and said hello, and nobody told them to do that. I mean, that's the kind of kids we have on that team.
Yep.
And it's one of those things. And he came over, and I talked to, Sonny and I, like I said to you a minute ago, we go back and forth with the bigs and the guards. So I was hanging out with all the big guys, and I'm looking at 4 guys that are looking at me square in the eye, which hasn't happened at a Villanova game with a Villanova team in a long time. But there's 3 or 4 guys on that team that are all really big guys. And he came up to me at Summer Jam, Duke did, and said, "Hey, I heard about your podcast. When can I come on?" Which I thought was awesome, And I said, "Anytime you want, pal." So he gave me his number, and we're gonna have him on. But
That's
he can
awesome.
play. And he can play. Those guys, the big guys, get up and down the floor, Ryan.
I know.
They play it. They're not playing walk it up basketball. They're getting up and down.
The whole Big East doesn't revolve around number 23 from the late 80s only.
Right, exactly. He's getting up and down, and I tell you what, I think we're going to surprise some people. I really do.
We need some
have
more
talent,
41s.
we have a little bit of everything. We have some good shooters. We have some good guards, and we got a couple of big guys that could play.
Did you hear what he just said, Chuck?
What's that?
Did that just slide by you?
The 23? He's talking about you. I knew he's talking about.
No, we need some more 41s. That you just let that one go.
Oh, I didn't even hear that.
Oh shit.
Yeah, well, you're right about that, Ryan.
I shouldn't even brought it up then, man.
Listen, you mentioned James Bryson being one of your guys, right?
Yeah.
So James and I, at that point, before Sadiq came in, we were really the only 2 41s that played at Villanova. So when we greet each other, we high 41. So Sadiq has a year, and he's going to go to the league. And we said, listen, kid, you have a lot to live up to. You wear the same number as us. Don't mess it up. So he's laughing as he's breaking rookie records, making 3-pointers and stuff. And
Oh,
since then, I know his dad, Rick, which that's how you know you're the old guy when you're talking to the ex-players' dads and going out, with Mo Hart and his wife and,
oh,
Bill
they're
Booth,
amazing.
all these guys. You're going out for beers with those guys, not that, But yeah, so we have a thing for 41, James Bryson, myself, and Sadiq Bey. So
Love it.
that's our bond. Yep.
JB.
So your thoughts. So, the league's gonna be tough. UConn is gonna be great. St. John's on paper's got the best roster probably in college basketball. Doesn't mean anything, it's on paper, but boy, I tell you what, if they get the Garden rocking, they're gonna be tough, man. Don't you think, Sonny?
Yep.
Yeah,
And
they
it's
get the
not,
Garden rocking, man, like the
and
80s.
it's taken them a little bit of time to, work out the system, figure out how he can get an edge, and he's there.
Oh, he's got it. Yeah. It's called vitamin water, Sonny. That's the edge.
I know. I mean, but you know what I mean. But he had to cultivate it and then implement it.
And he's good at that. I mean, he's a Hall of
Good
Famer.
at it.
He's
Good
good
at it. He was the first guy to exploit the 3-point line.
Yep.
In college, Billy Donovan. I mean,
Who else do you like, Ryan, in the conference?
So, I mean, the obvious for their rosters, right? I mean, St. John's and UConn, everybody's going to pick them to be 1-2, 2-1. And then I think most people will probably pick Creighton as
Yeah.
probably they got a couple key transfers coming in.
Yep.
And
talk about Creighton because they fly under the radar all
every
the
year,
damn
every year.
time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're always not they're always very good. And we've had guys on there and they hate playing at Creighton.
yeah.
And they draw. I think they're the number 2 or 3 in the league in terms of a fan base. And they are apparently in their house, just assassins.
And I think this is where we have now at Villanova what Creighton has in McDermott. They've got a veteran coach that simply can take a roster, mold it, and get them to the big dance. I mean, their roster for next year is 2 Iowa transfers, a Charlotte transfer, a Howard transfer, and then Jackson McAndrew, who's back. I mean, you look at that and I'm like, it's not that impressive. They've got
Not
some
supposed to
decent,
work. That's not supposed to work.
yeah, I mean, they've got some good depth off the bench. And that's something I like about Villanova going back to when we were talking about the Cats. Like, Willard's going to have a chance to play 10 guys, I think. I mean, he even said recently, I might play 10 or 11. I'm going to play fast. We're going to get after people. Like, we need to use our depth and having a lot of guards this year to our advantage. And I think it's going to be an exciting brand playing up tempo with a veteran coach. Our schedule's very interesting to me. Opening up in Vegas against BYU, who's going to be a top 10 team, great challenge. Having to play Wisconsin on December 19th on a neutral court. Having to go to Ann Arbor to play Michigan, and then we just announced that we're playing Pitt at home on December 13th. I think is the date. So I don't think when I look at us, like we need to get out of the gates early, and we've got a very challenging schedule. I mean, just those 4 non-conference games alone are going to be really, really tough. And if we could get 2 of those 4 would be huge.
Yeah.
Because once we get into league play, I'm confident that Willard will get our team once we get into Big East play and play our 20 Big East League games. I feel good that he'll bring our group together by then, and we'll have a good record in the Big East. The question is, can we steal a couple early while he's developing a roster of 14 players that has 11 guys that have never worn a Villanova jersey, and really 12 because Wade Chittick's a walk-on and he hasn't played. I mean,
Matt
Hodge hasn't played
either. Hodge hasn't played either.
Right. So technically, it's one player in Perkins that's put on the jersey, and it's a complete overhaul. But
you know what though? In today's day and age, if you're bringing in that many players, you got to play 10 guys. Because guys are coming because they're supposed to be playing. When they're doing their due diligence, right?
Yep.
They're not coming. You know, money's a part of it, but they're coming to play. And there's got to be promises made, believe it or not, that are going to say, yeah, you're going to get this many minutes in our system. So,
Yeah, but you got to be able to. You got to have a couple of guys that are going to be cultivated to be groomed to be players down the road. I mean,
no, I don't agree. Unless you're bringing in high school kids, there's no grooming. You got to be ready to go.
I think you
I
got
think
to
he's got a
have.
mix. I
Yeah.
think he
I think he
really
does.
because here's the key to me.
Ryan, that's
Caden
tough in
Lewis,
today's game. That's tough.
he's going to give the ball to a Caden Lewis as a freshman. And a Caden needs to be one of, I mean, he's that talented. And this is the thing that if we can get a guy like a Caden Lewis to come in from day one and stay for a while and be the guy, you know, and I tell you, another guy you were asking, I'm high on Lindsey, the JMU transfer.
Yeah.
He is a bucket getter. That guy can score all over the place.
All over the court.
I think he's going to be really, really big for us this year. And I think Perkins is going to, I don't know if he'll start or be our 6th or 7th man, but I think you'll see an emergence of his game. And you know, and then there maybe the guy that has, to me, that if I was to say who's the X factor on this team, the guy that we got last, Tafara Gapare. He's been at 3 different schools, Maryland, UMass, Georgia Tech. And at his size and athleticism at 6'9", wiry, 215, I'm telling you, I think he can be a guy that, because he hasn't really had that year yet, this could be a year where if he breaks through, it was the exact position we needed, because Hodge is going to play a lot, but we needed another power forward. And when we got him late, there wasn't a lot of talk about it, but my gut was that's going to be a guy we look back and go, oh, we really needed to get him to fill out this roster for the 25-26 season.
Yep. And he looked good in the scrimmage on Summer
Yeah,
Jam.
hit some threes, get into the hole,
had a
finish
few
it.
dunks. Yeah, right.
He looked confident.
Yeah, he did.
So, you know, it's an interesting roster. I mean, but you know, I do like our depth, and you know, I know we've broken down a lot of things about the team and the schedule, but I know the announcement came out that they're not expanding. Everybody sort of thought it was going to stay at 68, and the 72 or 76 expansion of the NCAA tournament wasn't going to happen until 2027 at the earliest. But now that that's official, you know, because you know, a lot of people are going to pick us to be a bubble team. And now the tournament's the same. There's not 4 extra teams. There's not 8 extra teams. So
I'm glad they didn't do that, because to me, it's watering it down. You know,
I totally agree. I don't want them ever to expand. They have the greatest tournament in the world. They need to keep it as is.
They don't want to ruin that too. I mean, come on.
They just announced it, right? They're staying. They're not.
Yep. They're staying for 2026 at 68 for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you know, other than the big ones we talked about, UConn and St. John's and then Creighton, I think Villanova has a chance to emerge and be in that mix with the veteran coach, and we just, like I said, we got to pick off somebody early that we're not supposed to. Can you imagine if the Cats go to Vegas on Monday, November 3rd and take out BYU? That would be unbelievable.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I agree.
Tone setter for the year.
Yep. Would be that's it. That would be great. So, last question. We're up against it a little bit. You get to talk with, you know, either the kids at your high school, or, you know, what are you saying to a young kid who wants to go into broadcasting? It's difficult now to do that. That's like, you have to be the best of the best, really, Ryan, to get into that at a top flight level, you know. But a lot of guys, they're all starting to retire now. There's attrition. You go in and go out. What do you say to a young kid that asks you, how do I get to do stuff like what you're doing?
I think the greatest thing now is with the emergence of high schools giving kids more opportunities. Kids can start their own podcasts. there's
Yes.
so much more opportunities than there was when I was in high school from 85 to 89. Like I told you, I didn't even really get that experience until I went to college. So I
Right.
just say to everybody, do mock games, have a buddy over at your house, turn down the TV, just do games and get as many reps as you can
Yep.
and learn that you're going to have an amazing amount of resilience because it is a cutthroat industry, and just enjoy it and have fun with it and do internships and be willing to work for nothing and do whatever it takes to try to accomplish what you want to do in life. Because a lot of times, the last thing I say to them is, if you go take a job and you make a lot of money, it's going to be hard to go back and work for nothing, doing something that you wanted to do from the get-go. So I
Right.
often say to young broadcasters, I say, give it all you have right when you get out of college. Be willing. One of my buddies did student radio at Villanova. He went to Oklahoma and just started calling high school games and this, anything he could just to get reps. And now he's doing a morning show in Kansas City because he was willing to pay the price to do the uncomfortable things and not just take the job and live in mom and dad's house for the first 5 years. They were, had the guts to go out and make something happen. So that's what I encourage them, and just stay resilient, number one, and
That's
always
great.
follow your passion.
Wait, we got to add, but what you added earlier, I think, is so important, right? Stick to the fundamentals of what your job is. Do your job.
Yep.
I think that's so important. Do your job. I see so much in my profession. I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, no, do your job.
Yep.
And I think that's so important. That's a great message.
Yeah. It's
Well,
it's a great industry, but man, it's cutthroat and it's tough. And
Yeah.
but it's like you guys, this great run you've had with the Big East Rewind. I mean, you get into it and it's so much fun, isn't it? It's great.
Yeah,
yeah,
learn
it
a
really
lot.
is. It's a lot of fun. And that's the reason why we're doing it for sure. It's not because we're making thousands of dollars. That's not the case. We've paid thousands of dollars, right, Sonny? That's about how it works, man.
I was
But
gonna
that's not
say,
why we're here. We're here for the relationships and for
that's right. But I
all the
digress.
nostalgia and the fun that we've had. So, well, right. I can't thank you enough for joining us and hanging out with us tonight, man. It was a pleasure hearing your story. I didn't know a lot of the stuff before, and we've known each other for years. But I haven't really known some of the stuff that you shared with us tonight. So we thank you very much for hanging with us.
No, thank you guys. I really appreciate you
Appreciate it,
asking. And
man.
it
Yep.
was a big highlight of my summer coming on with you guys. So thanks again.
All right. Hang around for a second. We'll
Thanks for
give you a
busting my
proper
orange
goodbye
too, man.
after
I
we
really
sign off.
appreciate that a lot.
I love the Carrier Dome. It's love to go
Yeah.
back there
At
for a
least one of us
Villanova Cuse
does. I
game
tell
one
you
day.
that.
Oh, I
I'm
would
not a
love it,
fan,
man.
right, Sonny? So there
Huh?
you go.
It will
I said
always
I'm
be
not.
the
At least
Carrier
one of us
Dome.
is a Carrier Dome fan, not
He
me.
doesn't like the dome, and I don't like the Palestra.
Palestra. He hates the Palestra. I hate the Dome. So there you go. You've been listening to and watching the Big East Rewind with Chuck Everson and Sonny Sparrow. The Big East Rewind has been produced and directed by Nick Chico Chorus and Daryl Gurney. Check us out on the SiriusXM app, on YouTube, and wherever else you get your podcasts. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Ryan.